Hello, and Jai Shri Mataji. We start
Jai Shri
again after
Mataji.
a little break. Um, we in our break, a lot of things happens. We have to tell you that we are talking about very interesting things, and after that we realize that will be good to record it. Now we come back to our uh, private discussion. We will make it public because it's very interesting about what Luis told me. Please, Luis.
Okay, so uh, one day I received an invitation from Shri Mataji to go to her house, and they told me to come, so I came. I was really happy, to get the invitation. I didn't know what was the purpose, but the purpose was to take down some dictation. Mother wanted to dictate a letter for the newspapers. Oh, but the person who passed the message to me just said, "Mother wants to see you come, if you are free." I said, "Yes, of course I'm free. I'm coming." So I came. So, although my job was to take down a dictation, Mother was going to dictate a letter. I didn't bring paper or pen or nothing, you see. But that day was also, Easter Sunday. Sorry, it was the Good Friday. That was Good Friday. That's the day when Christ was crucified. So it's a very sad day, and Mother was not in her usual atmosphere. It was a bit more solemn, more serious, more formal. And so, she told me, usually I sit on the ground, Mother's sitting on a settee and I sit on the floor, because I want to. I prefer that, I'm there, Mother's feet are there, it's even better, But Mother told me to sit at the table. I thought it's a bit strange, Mother asking me to sit at the table. So I sat at the table, which, but sitting at the table, I can't quite see Mother because Mother was on a city opposite. So now I'm not looking at Mother, but that's what she told me. So I sat there at that place at the table. So I'm not looking at her directly. And Mother is going into meditation, and I couldn't tell you for sure if Mother was asleep or if Mother was in meditation. She was in a different state of mind from usual, you see. And of course, it's a Good Friday, so it's a different situation. And she started talking about Christ and talking about Christ and talking about Christ. So interesting, so great, And then suddenly she tells me about half hour later. She told me, "Can you read me the last Can you read back to me the last two paragraphs?" And I said, "But Mother, I don't even have a pen and paper. Also, you are not writing. Didn't they tell you to write?" "No, they just told me to come." You see. All right, so don't worry about that. Just sit down and write it. You see. So I got some paper and a pen in the house. I didn't want to write it. I didn't want to write it on the table because sometimes you spoil the table if you write there. You see. So I went to the corner to write on the floor what Mother told me. But the last 5 minutes while Mother was talking, maybe 30, 40 minutes Mother talked. Maybe longer, you see. It's hard to measure time because Mother had gaps. She talked maybe for half an hour, but the whole thing lasted almost an hour because she was doing big gaps of meditation, thinking what she was saying next, or I didn't know if she was asleep or in meditation, and I wasn't quite looking at her because she asked me to sit at that place at the table, so I was sideways. So I was sitting there listening, it was amazing what Mother was saying. And then I had to write it, And the last 5 minutes of Mother's talk, another Saj Yogi came in. This was an English Saj Yogi, very senior Saj Yogi, great leader or ex-leader. Knew a lot about Sahaj. He heard the last 5 minutes, you see, of what Mother said. So together we could write it down. He could at least help write the last 5 minutes, but most of all, he could improve the English, And he knows the subject in general, the Sahaj subject. So we did that, And Mother said, "Don't worry, take your time. There's no rush." And Mother is still in that mood of meditation. So we wrote it down. And then she said, "Be relaxed. You are too serious now. Don't be tense. Be relaxed. Watch some TV." And Mother is kind of sleeping or meditating, and she told us to watch some TV. So we said, "Okay, let's watch TV without sound, mute, zero sound, not to disturb Mother." She told us, she ordered several times, "Come on, watch some TV, be relaxed, don't be tense." So we're sitting there, watching, and we chose a program which was golf. So we're just watching golf in silence. And while you're watching golf, we start remembering more things, you know. I start remembering everything mother said because we're going to Totless, looking at the green, you know, and everything mother's telling, told during that, maybe mother talked for half an hour, although it took an hour to say it. And everything is coming back, sentence by sentence, everything. And mother says, just stay calm and relax, it'll be fine, don't worry about it. And every time I would get up from the golf and go on the floor and write a bit more, you know. And then that Sajog would correct the English, and then we wrote it all again and improved the grammar, improved the handwriting also, nice handwriting, you know. And so I felt, Mother, I think this is everything you said, I hope, you know. And Mother said, that's fine, you know. I didn't even look at it. Mother knows, you know, she doesn't have to read it. All I needed was some bullet points for Cercipi, because now I'll give you some context about this situation. Um, I'm sorry for that. So the thing is that there was a film about Christ which was very offensive about Christ. I think it was called the third tempt, or the last temptation or third temptation. A very bad film. Mother felt this film is a blasphemy.
I
It's
know.
so offensive to Christ, such a blasphemy,
Yeah.
because in that film. I've not seen the film really because I refused to read it to see it. It's such a horrible stuff. Mother didn't like the film and she said it was a big insult and a blasphemy. I think one of the problems with that film is that they assume there's a relationship between Christ and Mary Magdalene. And
I know.
Mother said this is such a dirty thing to have this imagination. You cannot imagine
Yeah.
things about the deities and wrong things. This didn't happen. You see,
Yeah.
Christ never had an affair with Mary Magdalene. If
We know.
Christ's mother said that, he never had an affair with that woman. Full stop. If he wanted a wife, he would take a wife, he would marry her, because he's a very important person and he has to follow the dharmas. You know, he could not do a thing like this. If he wanted a wife, he would take a wife, not take a mistress or something like this. Impossible. Besides, she's a disciple of Christ, so this relationship is not allowed, you see. So it's not normal thing, you know. It's impossible. Impossible. They should not invent fictions and imagine things that didn't happen, and so this was the basis also of the Da Vinci Code, you see. So, but although this is before the Da Vinci Code, and Mother, in fact, took some strong attitude. She said, I'm going to write a letter for all the editors, for the newspaper editors of all the newspapers in England, you know. So to influence them, because if they receive a letter from Mother, they may not publish the letter, but they received the letter. It has an influence because Mother's vibrations go into all the newspapers now. And she wanted to send that letter to all the editors of the newspapers, you see, explaining why they should not give publicity to this film or encourage. The
Yeah.
critics should be more discerning in the as critics to explain this film is not suitable. It's a big blasphemy and a big offense to all people who have faith in Christ and believe in Christ and all that, you know. So this was a very interesting story. I remember telling this story to Dan Kostian. Dan Kostian came to UK and we were chatting to each other about the grave of William Blake. We went together to see the grave of William Blake, and I started talking about what Mother said to me on this occasion. And they said, "Oh my God! Why didn't you tell me this before? Why didn't you write this down?" I didn't know Mother said this about that film, because then the same applies to the Da Vinci Code. It's the same problem.
Yeah.
People are inventing an affair between Christ and Mary Magdalene, and that's not true. You see,
Yeah.
and that film was very filthy, very bad, you know. And Don Costian had come to UK to research the that book to go and visit the places mentioned in the book and everything. He said, "You saved me so much work in vain. This book is not Sahaj after all. I didn't know." And so glad you shared that memory. But to me, this as many important things of interest to me here. Mother is saying you should respect the deities. Don't invent anything about the deity unless it's the absolute truth. The deities don't like it. Mother was very offended with that film, and so Mother wrote that. So Mother told me Sir CP had promised to write something, you know. So because mother had discussed this matter with CCP for a long time. And so CCP had offered to mother to write also, you see. So, but he wanted some bullet points from mother. So basically, by me not writing down what mother said word for word, I was forced to write the main points, the bullet points, which is exactly what mother wanted me to do for CCP to have those bullet points. And then on the basis of that, between mother and CCP, they would write editorial, a letter for the editors, you know. But to
Yes.
me, this was a tremendous lesson. Our mother is helping me to write something because I have to write something extraordinary. Mother said, "It's precious. I cannot write it. It's impossible to remember every word." But important thing is to remain relaxed, in thoughtless awareness, looking at the green. And suddenly, word for word, everything came back. I was able to remember everything, and we managed to put it in good English. So I used to have this problem that mother had asked me to write about Saj Yoga. And I always felt I cannot do it. It's impossible, you see. But when mother asked me to take dictation of a letter from her, in the end, I was forced to write it myself based on what she said. And I felt mother is empowering me to be able to write about Sahaj because now I understand the subject. Mother explained this to me, what she wanted to say, what she wanted to explain. And now I have to write it from memory, you know. And this was a feeling of improving my self-confidence that I can write. So there was mother dictated other letters to me. Two other letters mother dictated for me. Once mother told me to write my testimonial about Saj Yoga. And I couldn't do it, you know. I said, Mother, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say, you know. Can you give me some tips, some hints, you know? And mother dictated my own testimonial. This is your life. This is what you have experienced in Sahaj. This is what you benefited. This is, and she dictated the whole lot.
So
When mother was,
you publish it?
yes, it was published. I'll tell you the whole story if you have time. So, on that occasion, Ma did not allow me to write it down also. She said, just take it in, you know, absorb it, and then you can write it, you see. Because this is a lesson. Mother is telling me how to write it, you see. So that night I started writing it. And I tried to remember everything Mother told me. And in fact, I forgot one or two things Mother told me which were important. So when I brought her later, there was a lady in the house at Shuddhi camps at the ashram who knew how to type very well. So she typed it for me, old typewriter. She typed what I had written. Mother had a look. She said, "Look, remember that point I was making? That point's very important. You forgot, and that point, and that point." So mother made a few corrections. You know, you forgot to mention this and that and that. Okay, yes, yes, yes. I saw those points. I just did not know how to verbalize them, how to explain them. You know, it's important. You see, although I knew I had not quite done the brief properly, you know, mother was telling me, come try, you can do it. So I was able then to explain those points that I had omitted. Was to me, this was a great lesson again on how to write that I received from mother. In boosting my self-confidence, I felt, oh, I can write about Sahaj because mother keeps telling me to write and I keep telling, oh, I don't know how to do it, I cannot do it. And she said this, so we should write our testimonials about Sahaj, those people who, you know, met mother, saw mother. One thing mother said is record my human side, you see. What you can record is the human side of her incarnation, how she interacted with humans like me. I'm just an ordinary person, you know, very nothing special about me. But you know, how did mother interact with someone like me? With you know, I'm not a genius, you know, I'm not a great yogi, you know, or a great leader of Sahaj. But mother interacted with me on a human level with great compassion, great love, always helping, you know, stimulating me to get better and improve and even become a writer because I could not do it, you know. She had to give me that inspiration and help, you see. So that was a very interesting thing for me and a great lesson to learn about Mary Magdalene and what Mother thinks about Christ and Mary Magdalene, how to write it, you know, and how we can do it so long as we go thoughtless, then anything is possible for a Saj Yogi. So later on, this subject about writing about deities came back again. This time, this time is from another Saj Yogini. So it's important also to tell stories of other Saj Yogis. This is Satyogini that mother had asked to write down the testimonials, the memories of Sahaj. So she was writing those down, editing the stories, creating a book as an editor.
Can we
And
tell her name?
Linda Williams. So she wrote those memory books of recollections of Sri Mataji's memories. And the mother was pleased with those books. Mother was reading them. Sometimes mother's relatives were reading it to her because mother enjoyed having them read to her. At the time, mother was already getting quite old, and sometimes she would sit down, and people would read those books to her, and she paid great attention, and she was listening to every detail. Sometimes people weren't sure, is mother really listening, or is she in meditation, or maybe not quite concentrating. But then mother would, after the reading, should say, "What about Mr. So and so? Why didn't he say this? Well, what about that other yogi there? I told him this, I told him that. How come he has not sent his testimonial yet about England? And that's when people realize Mad is paying enormous attention, in fact. She knows who are the people who contributed, who are the people who forget to contribute. That person said this. Why didn't he say extra about, another person contributed some stories, but Mother said, and what about the other stories, the other incidents that happened between us? He didn't report on those. So Mother's paying great attention, in fact. And Mother also asked her to write books for children to Linda Williams, and she did that. In those days, Linda Williams was a great admirer of Shivaji. Shivaji is a great saint of India and a great warrior and a great political leader, a very important person in India from the 15th, 16th century. And she knew the story of Shivaji, the biography, very well. She read several books. So when she had to write a story for children, she said, I'm going to incorporate some of the biography of Shivaji into the stories for children, you see. But that means also changing the story, changing the biography a little bit, creating incidents, fictional incidents that did not happen. Have Shivaji as one of the characters would be a character in the book, putting some words in his mouth, things he didn't never actually said, you see, but it's for children, so it's okay. No, it's not okay. Even though it's for children, Mother said, when it comes to deity, such yogis can only write the truth about the deity. The deity will get very offended and very hurt. You can only attribute actual words they said, nothing but the truth. And deeds, also their deeds, the things they did, has to be exactly what they did. No, nothing changing there. So Linda rewrote the books. The book was good. It's just there was that fault, that flaw. So she rewrote the books and took away the biography of Shivaji from there. She never mentioned Shivaji in the books. And in fact, she says that his mother saved a life because if she had written something that people in India felt is offensive against Shivaji, because he has some very strong followers there were like warriors. And if you offend Shivaji, they'll come after you, you see. So Mad was also protecting Linda because it's not just Shivaji, he has some very powerful followers still today who, consider him so important. Any small insult, they would have reacted, you see. So she was warned well and she made those changes. And I'm very grateful to her for sharing this story with me. And recently we recorded this story there's a project called Golden Writers where people who wrote Sahaj books are being interviewed. So she was interviewed, and Linda was very ill, and she's now very old. At the time, she did not want to. She could not remember the story in all details because it's getting late in the night. We were interviewing her very late in the night, and she said, "So I told that story." According to what she told me, and she was present, so she said yes. So she verified this is correct. That's what mother said. Mother also changed the title of one of the books. One of the books, the title was the Mountain Mouse. This was again inspired on Shivaji because Shivaji, he was a very hard man to catch. You see, sometimes he was a single man, even without an army, running away in the forests, on the mountains, and they couldn't catch him. You see, so the enemies used to call him, he's like a mountain rat, the way he hides in the mountains. So she gave that name to the book, The Mountain Rat. And mother said, no, the rat is not so auspicious as an animal. The mouse is a more auspicious animal. So better call the book The Mountain Mouse, not The Mountain Rat. So that's another thing. Mother changed the title of that book as well as any reference to Shivaji had to be removed. But she was able to, with creativity, come up with another character, a different character, nothing to do with Shivaji. Different stories are very different, no longer related to the life of Shivaji. So, but with a bit of creativity, she overcame that problem and rewrote it. And I find this is a useful lesson for people like us who are writing, like you are writing also about Sahaja Yoga and the deities. I consider this an important lesson I received indirectly from mother somehow. Uh, what are the stories? Yes, on another occasion, I think I already told you, mother dictated me a letter for the university, to get my place in university. So that's a third letter mother dictated. So mother was giving me some encouragement to write all the time. And whatever little I wrote, which was not much, mother was showing a lot of respect for it. I wrote some other books, some introductions for some collections of mother's writings, on a certain topic. I wrote some introductions and things, and mother corrected those things I wrote and improved them. Instead of saying, come on, you can't write, you are a terrible writer or anything, mother saying that's very good. Let's make a few corrections and improve it.
half half of the few corrections.
But this is something I did voluntarily. Mother didn't ask me to do that. But what I liked was to transcribe mother's talks. So I had done some transcriptions of mother's talks on a certain topic. Then I wrote a little introduction, And mother corrected it. Mother enjoyed it and corrected, and she told me I should write more about Sahaja Yoga, you know. And mother was very supportive all the time and kept asking me, "So, have you started writing?" "No, mother, I have not started. I don't know what to write. I have nothing to say."
But at this stage, we were talking before, but we have to tell to our viewers that the fact that Shimataji not only encouraged but tell to Sahaja Yogi to write and put very much accent. We were talking between us, but now we want to make public this uh, encouragement from Shimataji. And like I said, it's not only an encouragement; it's a must. She said very clear. All Sahaja Yogis should maybe not all, but most of them should write about Sahaja Yoga, about their experience, about the stuff. So this one was something who trigger the need for many of us, and I include a little bit myself here, to write something, to do this kind of projects, to let something after us regarding our experiences in Sahaja Yoga and other stuff. So in this big project, you are coming, Dan Costian are coming, Christopher Greaves, Chris Marlowe, I'm sure I forget someone, of course, Jamel, Uncle Yogi Mahajan, and others. So let's not forget that Shimataji asked us to do that.
All of us. It's on
And she
tape.
put
I mean, that's on tape. Yes, all of us
and,
have been asked to do that.
and she
And
put a great emphasis on the how should I say it? Intellectual work, but it's a illuminated intellectual. It's not, because usually when we use that word of intellectualism or intellect, people usually the Sahajagi said, "Oh no, we are just bhakti. We don't do that intellectual stuff." But it's just a tool who help us to express our um memories, our
yes, to share, we have to share those
we
things,
have to
I
balance
mean,
those
those
stuff, not
if
not
you if you
use it.
met if you met mother, several times, you had an experience, you saw our mother treats everybody with such love and care and giving so many lessons and advice and removing all our problems, healing us completely, doing everything she can for us. we have a duty, Mother said. We owe it to her to share those testimonials, how much we received from her. And there was another thing. While they were reading the books to Mother, they read Mother the English because initially the books were done country by country, not in chronological order, but by country. So they were reading to Mother the English, the one for the UK. And then Mother, this message reached me also. Mother is complaining that where are those people to whom I spoke about William Blake? I spoke so much about William Blake to so many people. Where are they? They didn't contribute those stories about William Blake. I was one of the culprits who had not contributed stories about William Blake. And I got the message, all right, I better write some things Mother told me about William Blake because Mother talked a lot about William Blake to me. In those days, I didn't know Mother was going to ask me to write about William Blake because one day Mother told me, write about William Blake. In those days, she used to tell me before, write about Saj Yoga, but then one day she told me, write about William Blake. That's another long story, but I'm being brief now, how it happened. But in the end, Mother told me, write about William Blake because you keep telling me you don't know what to write about, so I gave you a subject now. So but then I get that message much later, Mother is a bit surprised that those people Mother talked to them about William Blake didn't come forward to contribute their memories about what Mother said to them about William Blake. I was one of the worst culprits who hadn't contributed the things Mother said to me about William Blake. But I've been trying to correct myself on that. Did the film stop now?
No, 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 no. We are just sharing the
Oh, the
cover.
pictures of the books. Yes, thank you. I thought we had
No, no, no.
lost the connection. Yes.
No, please continue.
Yes, this is one of those books we wrote partly to share some things Mother said about the residences, what William Blake said about the residences of Saj Yoga, of Mother in England, because he prophesied about Sri Mataji coming to London. It's all there. So if you read that book, I try to share some of the things Mother said in her tapes. This is not private knowledge Mother gave me. She told me also about these things privately, but this knowledge is available on the tapes because a lot of what Mother told me, I can't even remember exact details. Sometimes Mother's talks are the best because it's authentic. That's exactly what she said. It's not just whatever little I can remember. So this book is actually based mostly inspired by what Mother told me personally, but the references come from Mother's talks, so it's not my opinion. Hopefully, it's Mother's opinion or William Blake's opinion, maybe. I hope, rather than my opinion. But that's about those prophecies of William Blake to do with the man of God and Mother's residences in London. So that's one subject Mother talked a lot to us privately, individually, because I was living at Shelsham Road and William Blake prophesied about that location. Of course, Mother would talk to me about that. And Mother also talked about the prophecies of Blake to do with Mother's house at Brompton Square. So I was there in Brompton Square, and Mother was talking to me about William Blake prophesied about that place as well. But luckily, I didn't write down what Mother said. I remember it, but not word for word. But luckily, Mother left that knowledge on tape. It's on recording. It's been recorded. So another Saj Yogi told me something interesting that one day I was not present, so this is not private knowledge, but his name is Fergie, Derek Ferguson, English Saj Yogi also, one of the first here. And someone was reading the book Jerusalem. It is a book by Blake called Jerusalem. They were reading it to Mother, and Mother was saying, "Oh, see, now he's talking about this Saj Yogi. He's talking about Fergie here. See, can you see?" Of course, people didn't know. Yes, he's talking about Fergie now. Oh, he's talking about Linda Williams. This is her. He's describing her. Or talking about this Saj Yogi. So Mother could personalize the prophecies of William Blake into great detail, telling even who is who. Oh, now Blake talking about the golden builders. You see, this is you, the golden builders. He's talking about carpentry. That's this Laurent. There was a French Saj Yogi was a carpenter at Mother's house. So he's talking now. Blake is talking about Laurent. He's describing his work. You see. So Mother used to go in great detail about the prophecies of William Blake, how they relate to Sahash, But this is not my memory. This is a memory from Derek Ferguson. He told me. This one has been recorded, luckily.
Um, I want to ask you more about this, the process of writing those books, and this one is the first in the series of William Blake. That's a series, and that one is the first one, and it's happened. Uh, I read it. I read it first. I want to ask you more about the process of writing, the process of searching. Like you said, you have your own recollections, but you have also the tapes. So I want also, if it's possible, to have Carol, because you write
Yes,
those books
with
together.
Carol, yes.
But that will be a promise for the future meetings. For the moment, because I know you have a little bit of limited time, we will stop with the promise that we'll meet again very soon for the next episodes. And God knows what we are talking about, because we plan to talk about one subject, but in the end, we get sidetracked by very beautiful stories, which I just enjoy it. And I hope very much that you too enjoy it, remember it, and people who listen to us also hope very much that they enjoy it. The feedback I get it's quite good. People are very interested in your stories, in your books, and we definitely will continue. If won't we if next week we won't be able to talk about books, I'm sure we will be talking about many other interesting stories from 80s and after 80s. So for the moment, I want to thank you very much, Luis. We meet
Uh,
again very soon, and I want to thank the viewers, our viewers who watch us. And goodbye, and Jai Shri Mataji.
Jai Shri Mataji,
Jai Shri
Daniel, thank
Mataji.
you. Jai Shri Mataji.